Arnold Schwarzenegger has told this story exactly once. Not in an interview, not in his autobiography, not on any stage or podcast or documentary. Once, in a private conversation, to a person who was not supposed to repeat it. That person repeated it anyway. And now, decades later, the story has become a ghost that haunts the edges of bodybuilding legend and martial arts mythology. I'm going to tell you that story now. But first, I need you to understand something. What I am about to share is not verified history. It is not documented fact. It lives in that strange territory between memory and myth, where the emotional truth of an encounter matters more than whether every detail can be confirmed. Bruce Lee died in 1973. Arnold Schwarzenegger was 26 years old that year, already a bodybuilding legend, just beginning his journey toward Hollywood stardom. Their paths could have crossed. Venice Beach in the early 1970s was a small world. The gym where Arnold trained was minutes from the places where Bruce taught. The circles they moved in overlapped in ways that make a meeting not just possible, but probable. Did it happen exactly as I will tell it? I do not know. Does it contain a truth worth hearing? Absolutely. So here's my question to you. Have you ever been so afraid of looking foolish that you refused to ask for what you needed? Have you ever let pride build a wall between you and the person who could change your life? If you have, then this story is for you. Come with me to a gym in Venice Beach, 1972, where the greatest bodybuilder in the world is about to discover that all his muscles cannot protect him from his own fear. The man everyone called the Austrian Oak was crying. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears tracking down a face that graced the covers of muscle magazines around the world. He sat alone in the corner of Gold's Gym after closing time. The lights dimmed, the equipment silent, the smell of iron and sweat still hanging in the air like incense. He thought he was alone. He was wrong. "That is a heavy weight you are carrying," said a voice from the shadows. Heavier than anything on those racks. Arnold's head snapped up, his body tensed automatically, years of training preparing him to respond to potential threats. But what emerged from the darkness was not threatening at all. It was a small man in dark clothing, compact and precise, moving with a fluidity that made Arnold's athletic eye immediately take notice. He recognized the face instantly. Everyone in the fitness world knew that face. "Mr. Lee," Arnold said, hastily wiping his eyes, embarrassment flooding through him. "I did not know anyone was here. I thought the gym was empty." "I often come here after hours," Bruce said, settling onto a bench across from Arnold with the easy grace of a cat finding a sunbeam. "The owner is a friend. He lets me use the space when I need solitude." A slight smile. It seems we both needed solitude tonight, and found each other instead. Arnold said nothing. What could he say? He had been caught in a moment of weakness by one of the most famous martial artists in the world. The image he had spent years cultivating, the confident, unshakable champion, had been shattered in an instant. "You do not need to explain," Bruce said, as if reading his thoughts. "Tears are not weakness. They are overflow. When the container becomes too full, something must spill out. The only question is what filled the container in the first place." This was not what Arnold expected. He had heard stories about Bruce Lee. The intensity, the directness, the way he could read people like books and respond to their deepest truths before they spoke them. But experiencing it was something else entirely. "I made a mistake," Arnold heard himself saying. The words came out before he could stop them, pulled from somewhere deep by the strange intimacy of this unexpected encounter. "A bad one. On set today. A film I'm trying to make. And I cannot stop thinking about it. Cannot stop seeing their faces. The disappointment. The frustration. They're starting to wonder if I can really do this. If I'm really an actor or just a body that looks good on camera." Bruce nodded slowly. "What was the mistake?" Arnold laughed bitterly. "Which one? I forgot my lines 3 times. I moved wrong for the camera. I could not make my face do what the director wanted. Every time I tried to relax, I became more stiff. Every time I tried to be natural, I became more artificial." He looked down at his massive hands. "In the gym, I am in control. I know exactly what my body will do. But in front of the camera, I become someone else. Someone clumsy. Someone afraid. Someone human," Bruce said quietly. Arnold looked up, surprised by the gentleness in the words. You have spent years perfecting your body, Bruce continued, training it to respond exactly as you command. This is admirable. This is mastery. But now you are discovering that there is another kind of mastery, and your body does not automatically transfer its skills. He leaned forward slightly, his intensity focusing like light through a lens. Acting is not about control. It is about release. The very discipline that made you a champion is now becoming an obstacle. You're trying to force your performance the way you force your muscles. But performance cannot be forced. It must be allowed. Arnold frowned. I did not understand. How can I act without controlling what I do? The same way you breathe without controlling each breath. The same way you walk without planning each step. Through practice so deep that it becomes instinct. Through failure so repeated that success becomes natural. Bruce stood and walked a few paces, his body moving with that characteristic fluidity that seemed to make the air part around him. Let me tell you something about mistakes, he said. When I first came to America, I made mistakes constantly. My English was imperfect. My understanding of the culture was incomplete. I offended people without meaning to. I failed auditions. I was rejected again and again for roles that went to actors with half my skill, but twice my ability to fit what they expected. He turned back to face Arnold. Each mistake felt like death. Each failure felt like proof that I did not belong. I spent years carrying the weight of those mistakes, letting them convince me that I was not good enough, would never be good enough. What changed? Bruce smiled. I realized something simple but profound. Mistakes are always forgivable, if one has the courage to admit them. The words hung in the air between them. Arnold felt something shift in his chest, some tightness beginning to loosen. The courage to admit them, he repeated slowly. Not just to others. To yourself. Exactly. The mistake is not the problem. The hiding is the problem. The pretending is the problem. When you stand on that set tomorrow, you have a choice. You can pretend that yesterday did not happen, that you are still the confident champion who never struggles. Or you can admit to yourself and to everyone that you are learning, that you are failing, that you are human. But if I admit that I am failing, they will lose faith in me. They will think they made a mistake casting me. Bruce shook his head. They already know you are struggling. Everyone on that set can see it. What they do not know is whether you can overcome it, whether you have the courage to keep failing until you succeed. When you admit your mistakes openly, you show them that you are not defeated. You show them that you are fighting. And that is what earns respect. Not perfection, perseverance. If this conversation is resonating with something in your own experience, if you have ever carried the weight of mistakes you were afraid to acknowledge, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Because what happens next is the moment that changed Arnold Schwarzenegger's approach to everything. Arnold sat in silence for a long moment, processing what Bruce had said. Something was building inside him, a question he had wanted to ask since he first saw Bruce Lee move on screen, a request he had been too proud to make. Mr. Lee, he began, then stopped. The words felt too heavy. Say it, Bruce encouraged. Whatever it is, say it. I have watched your films. I have seen how you move. It is unlike anything I have ever witnessed. Your body does things that should not be possible. And when you're on screen, you are completely alive, completely present. There is no gap between what you feel and what you express. He paused, gathering courage. I'm the best bodybuilder in the world. I have won every competition worth winning. I can control my muscles with a precision that amazes even myself. But I cannot do what you do. I cannot make my body express emotion. I cannot make an audience feel what I am feeling. And I am terrified that I never will. The admission cost him something. Arnold Schwarzenegger did not confess weakness. He did not acknowledge limitations. He presented himself to the world as invincible, as inevitable, as a force that could not be stopped. But here, in the darkness of an empty gym, facing a small man who moved like water and saw like lightning, the mask had finally slipped. You want me to teach you? Bruce said. It was not a question. Arnold nodded, unable to speak. You have wanted to ask since you first saw me on that screen. You have thought about approaching me a dozen times. But something stopped you. What was it? Arnold closed his eyes. Pride. Fear. The worry that you would laugh at me. That you would look at these muscles and see what everyone sees, a body without depth, a machine without soul. I was afraid that if I asked and you refused, it would confirm everything I fear about myself. And now, what changed? Arnold opened his eyes and met Bruce's gaze directly. You saw me crying. The worst already happened. You saw me at my weakest. And you did not laugh. You did not walk away. You sat down and talked to me like I was worth talking to. He paused. I have nothing left to protect. So I am asking, will you teach me? Not martial arts. I know you do not teach fighting techniques to outsiders. But whatever it is that makes you alive on screen, whatever it is that makes your body speak, I want to learn that. I need to learn that. 7 seconds of silence followed. 7 seconds in which Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Austrian oak, the greatest bodybuilder in history, waited to learn whether his courage would be rewarded or punished. Then Bruce Lee smiled. Come to my school tomorrow. 6 in the morning. We will begin. The relief that flooded through Arnold was so intense, it almost brought fresh tears. But these would have been tears of something else entirely. Hope. Gratitude. The sudden lightness that comes when you finally ask for what you need, and the answer is yes. Thank you, Arnold said. I will be there. I will not be late. I know you will not. Bruce stood, preparing to leave. But Arnold, understand something. What I'm going to teach you is not a technique. It is a way of being. It will require you to unlearn many things that have made you successful. It will ask you to be vulnerable when your instinct is to be strong. It will demand that you fail repeatedly in order to succeed once. I am ready. No, you are not. No one is ready for this work. But you are willing, and willing is enough to begin. Bruce walked toward the door, then paused. Without turning around, he spoke once more. Mistakes are always forgivable, Arnold. Remember that. Not just today. Every day. Every time you fail. Every time you fall short. Every time the gap between who you are and who you want to be feels impossible to cross. The mistake is not the enemy. The mistake is the teacher. Learn to love your teachers, even when their lessons are painful. Then he was gone, slipping into the Venice Beach night, like a shadow, returning to the darkness that had spawned it. Arnold sat alone in the empty gym for a long time after Bruce left. Something had shifted inside him. Not yet a transformation, but the beginning of one. The seed of something that would grow over decades into the career that the world would eventually know. He arrived at Bruce Lee's school at 5:45 the next morning. He would not be late. He would not give himself any excuse to back out, any opportunity for pride to reassert itself and convince him that he did not need help after all. Bruce was already there, moving through a series of exercises that seemed to flow one into another like music. He did not acknowledge Arnold's arrival immediately, simply continued his practice while the bodybuilder watched from the doorway, afraid to interrupt. Come in, Bruce finally said, without stopping his movement. Stand where I can see you. Arnold walked to the center of the training space and waited. He felt awkward, overlarge, his massive body suddenly seeming like an impediment rather than an advantage. In this space, power was measured differently. Bruce finished his sequence and faced Arnold directly. His eyes moved slowly over the bodybuilder's physique, assessing, evaluating. Your body is a masterpiece, Bruce said finally. But it is a frozen masterpiece, a sculpture, beautiful but static. What we're going to do is teach it to dance. I'm not much of a dancer. No, you're not. That is why we are starting here. What followed was unlike any training Arnold had ever experienced. Bruce did not teach him martial arts techniques. He did not show him how to punch or kick or defend. Instead, he taught him how to move. Simple movements at first. Walking across the room, sitting down and standing up, turning to face a new direction. Movements so basic that Arnold initially felt insulted. He had expected something advanced, something that would challenge his exceptional physical abilities. You are thinking too much, Bruce said after watching Arnold walk across the room for the 10th time. I can see the thoughts in your shoulders, in your jaw, in the way your hands clench when you are uncertain. You're trying to walk correctly, but there is no correct. There is only natural. But how do I become natural? How do I stop thinking? You do not stop thinking. You redirect the thinking. Right now, your mind is focused on your body, on how your body looks, how it moves, whether it's doing what you want. This is backwards. Your body should focus on the world, on the space around you, on the air you're moving through, on the destination you're approaching. When your attention is external, your body finds its own way. It took hours before Arnold understood. Hours of walking, sitting, turning, failing. Hours of Bruce patiently correcting not his technique, but his attention. Hours of frustration and embarrassment and the slow, grinding work of learning something that could not be taught through repetition alone. But eventually, something clicked. Arnold crossed the room without thinking about crossing the room. His body simply moved, naturally, efficiently, without the self-conscious stiffness that had plagued him on film sets. For 3 seconds, he was not performing walking. He was simply walking. "There," Bruce said quietly. "Did you feel that?" Arnold nodded, afraid that speaking would break the spell. That is what we are building toward. Those moments of pure movement, when the body does what it knows how to do, without interference from the anxious mind. Right now, you can sustain it for seconds. With practice, you will sustain it for minutes, for hours, for entire performances. They trained together for 3 weeks. Every morning, before Arnold's film commitments began, he would arrive at Bruce's school and submit to exercises that seemed absurdly simple but were devastatingly difficult. He learned to breathe without controlling his breath, to stand without adjusting his posture, to express emotion through his body without deciding what emotion to express. The body knows, Bruce told him repeatedly. When you let it know, it will tell the truth. When you force it to perform, it will lie. Audiences can always sense the lie. They may not know why something feels wrong, but they feel it. The actors who succeed are the ones who learn to get out of their own way. Arnold absorbed everything. The mistakes he had been so afraid of became his greatest teachers, exactly as Bruce had promised. Each failure revealed something. Each correction opened a new path. The shame that had driven him to that empty gym on the night they met transformed into fuel for growth. On their last session together, Bruce gave Arnold a gift. A small book, handwritten in Bruce's precise script, containing principles and exercises that Arnold could continue practicing on his own. "I am leaving for Hong Kong soon," Bruce explained, "to make a film that I hope will change everything. We may not see each other again for a long time, but what we have started here does not require my presence. It only requires your commitment." Arnold took the book with hands that trembled slightly. "I do not know how to thank you. You have given me something I could not have found anywhere else. You gave yourself the gift. I only opened the door. You walked through." Bruce paused, then spoke words that Arnold would carry with him for the rest of his life. "You asked me to teach you what makes a body alive on screen. But the truth is the body is always alive. What kills it is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of being seen as less than perfect. When you release that fear, the life that was always there becomes visible." He placed a hand on Arnold's massive shoulder. "You will be great, Arnold. Not because you are talented, though you are. Not because you're disciplined, though you are. You will be great because you had the courage to admit you needed help. Because you sat in that gym crying and did not run when I appeared. Because you asked for what you needed, even though asking terrified you." He smiled, that famous smile that could light up any screen. Mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them. You have that courage. Never forget it. Bruce Lee died 4 months later. Arnold Schwarzenegger received the news on a film set, surrounded by people who had no idea what the small martial artist had meant to him. He excused himself, found a private space, and wept for the second time in a year. But these tears were different. They were not tears of shame or frustration. They were tears of gratitude for a gift he would spend the rest of his life unwrapping. The career that followed is the one the world knows. Conan, Terminator, Total Recall, Predator. Films that made Arnold Schwarzenegger one of the biggest movie stars in history. A career that seemed impossible for a bodybuilder with a thick accent and a difficult name. Those who worked with him over the years often commented on something unusual. Arnold was never afraid to fail. He would try things that other actors refused to attempt, willing to look foolish, willing to struggle openly. And when he made mistakes, he admitted them immediately, learned from them publicly, and moved on without shame. Mistakes are always forgivable, he would tell young actors who sought his advice. The courage isn't admitting them. Once you admit them, they lose their power over you. They become teachers instead of tormentors. He never told them where he learned this lesson. He never mentioned the small man in the dark gym, the 3 weeks of training that transformed his understanding of performance, the book of handwritten exercises that he still consulted decades later. Some gifts are too personal to share. Some teachers are too sacred to name. Some moments live in the private spaces of the heart, visible only to those who experience them. But now you know. Now the story that Arnold Schwarzenegger has told exactly once has been told again. Not because he wanted it shared, but because some truths are too important to keep hidden. Have the courage to admit your mistakes. Ask for what you need, even when asking terrifies you. Let your body tell the truth instead of forcing it to lie. These are the lessons Bruce Lee taught Arnold Schwarzenegger in a gym in Venice Beach, in a school in the early morning hours, in a friendship that lasted only weeks but echoed through decades. And now, perhaps, there are lessons for you too. Thank you for watching. If this story has touched something in you, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who needs to hear that their mistakes do not define them. We are all carrying weights heavier than any barbell. We are all struggling with fears that our muscles cannot lift. And we all need someone, sometimes, to sit across from us in the darkness and remind us that we are not alone. Mistakes are always forgivable, if one has the courage to admit them.